Good evening. Welcome to the public meeting for State Road 5, US 1 resurfacing project from north of 6th Avenue to 12th Street in Indian River County. We will get started at 6 p.m. At this time, we will allow time for additional attendees to log in and join us. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the public meeting for State Road 5, US 1 resurfacing project from north of 6th Avenue to 12th Street in Indian River County. We will get started at 6 p.m. At this time, we will allow time for additional attendees to log in and join us. Thank you. It is now 6 o'clock. Good evening. Welcome again to the public meeting for State Road 5, US 1 resurfacing project from north of 6th Avenue to 12th Street in Indian River County. At this time, I will pass the presentation to Ben.
Good evening. On behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation, we would like to welcome you to the public meeting for the State Road 5 US 1 resurfacing project from the north 6th Avenue to 12th Street. My name is Bing Wang. I'm Project Manager for this project. This public meeting is related to the financial project number 446-107-1-52-01. Next slide, please. At this moment, I would like to introduce the project team. Again, my name is Bing Wang. I'm FBOT Project Manager for this project. Steve Hughes from CTS Engineering is Design Engineer of the record. Brent Shijun Lee is Consulting Project Manager from CTS Engineering. Leila Frenzel is Moderator for this tonight's meeting. Next. Lastly, if any elected official has joined us this evening, we ask that you utilize raise hand feature so that we may acknowledge you. You will be given an opportunity later in the presentation to address the attendee.
At this time, there are no elected officials joining us, so we can proceed.
Next slide, please. We'll go through tonight's agenda: technical information, non-discrimination policy and the rules of engagement, project location and overview, existing and proposed typical section, proposed improvements, temporary traffic control plan, project schedule and cost, question and answers, rules and contact information. At this time, I will handle the presentation to Leila.
Thank you, Bing. Good evening. My name is Leila Franzoy, and I'm supporting the State Road 5 US 1 resurfacing project from north of 6th Avenue to 12th Street. I will now cover important technical information. Here are a few items to be aware of regarding the meeting format. The Florida Department of Transportation is providing multiple opportunities for the public to receive information and provide input. The public meeting will be offered in two different formats, virtual and in person. Today is the virtual public meeting, and in-person meeting will be held tomorrow, Thursday, April 28, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the Indian River County Administration Building B, room B-501, located at 1800 27th Street, Vero Beach, Florida, 32960. For virtual attendees, we are using the GoToWebinar meeting platform for the meeting. There is no cost to the public to log in or dial in to participate in the meeting. On your computer or device screen, you should see something that looks like this in the upper right corner. To listen to the meeting, your computer or device speakers are selected by default. For those who dialed into the meeting on a telephone line and are viewing a hard copy of the slide presentation requested or downloaded before the meeting, the presenter will announce the page number of the slide being shown on the screen. The presentation is available on the project webpage, and the QR code is shown on the screen. Public notice for this public meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in letters to property owners and tenants in the project area, a posting in the Florida Administrative Register, and emails to persons on the project contacts list, on social media feeds, and other notification methods. Non-discrimination policy and rules of engagement. The Florida Department of Transportation complies with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to FDOT compliance with Title VI may do so by contacting FDOT District 4 Title VI Coordinator Sharon Singh Hagyan or State Title VI Coordinator Jacqueline Paramore. This public information meeting is being recorded. If you experience technical difficulties, please type the issue in the question pane on the control panel to report it, so that a member of our technical support team may assist you. All attendees will remain muted throughout the meeting. To provide a comment during the question and answer session, please use the raise hand button on your GoToWebinar panel. Once your microphone is unmuted, please provide your full name first and then your comment. Your microphone will remain unmuted until the comment has been fully addressed. Attendees are also welcome to submit any questions, comments using the platform's question panel at any time, and a member of the team will respond during the open discussion. At this time, I will hand the presentation over to Bradley Schuling from CTS Engineering, the consultant project manager for this project.
Thank you, Leila. Good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Bradley Schuling, and I am the consultant project manager for this project. So we're now on slide number 13, and this slide shows the project limits along US 1 or State Road 5 in Indian River County. The project begins just north of the intersection with 6th Avenue and ends at the intersection with 12th Street. Okay. Slide number 14. We'll give a brief overview of the project objective and some background information here. The main purpose of this project is to preserve and extend the service life of the roadway by milling and resurfacing the existing pavement, as well as to enhance general highway safety. The project objectives also include necessary pedestrian modifications to comply with the American with Disabilities Act, ADA, and standards. Addition of missing sidewalk, improvement of bike lanes, signals, and lighting upgrades. A little bit about the background. Within this project section of US 1, it is considered a 5-lane undivided roadway. It has 2 northbound lanes and 2 southbound lanes, and also 1 center lane that is used for left turn movements for both directions. The roadway facility runs from north to south and has a posted speed of 45 miles per hour between 6th Avenue and 10th Street, and then it reduces to 35 miles per hour between 10th Street and 12th Street. Next slide, please. Okay, in the next, this is slide number 15, and in the next few slides, we'll be discussing the existing and proposed typical sections of the roadway. So we're now on slide number 16. And before I begin, the project is sort of broken up into 2 sections, one from 6th Street to 10th Street, which we'll talk about now, and then we'll talk about the second section between 10th Street and 12th Street. So this section of US 1 between 6th Avenue and 10th Street, the existing roadway has 2 12-foot wide northbound lanes. It also has 2 12-foot wide southbound lanes, and 1 12-foot wide center 2-way left turn lane. There's existing 4-foot paved shoulders in both directions, and there's also a grass swale on either side of the roadway. In this section, there are some sidewalks that are 5 feet wide, but there are also several gaps where sidewalks are missing. Next slide. So we're now on slide number 17, and this is showing the proposed typical section for the first section between 6th Avenue to 10th Street. So the proposed section retains the 12-foot center 2-way left turn lane, but the 2 northbound and 2 southbound lanes will each be reduced from 12 feet to 11 feet, giving room to widen both outside shoulders to 6 feet, and they will be marked with bike lane symbols. Also, new 6-foot sidewalks will be added everywhere that there is a gap between the existing sidewalks. To accommodate this, the grass swales on the sides of the road will be reduced in width from 16 feet down to as low as 7 feet as needed to accommodate the addition of the new sidewalks. Next one. So we're now on slide number 18, and we're going to talk about the second section of US 1 in this project, which is from 10th Street to 12th Street. So the existing section has, two northbound lanes where the inside lane is currently 11 foot wide and the outside lane is 13.5 feet wide. And it's the same setup for the southbound direction with one inside lane that's 11 foot wide and a 13.5 foot wide outside lane. This section of US 1 also has a center two-way left turn lane, which is 11 feet wide. In this section, there's curb and gutter on both sides of the roadway, along with an existing 8 foot wide sidewalk that is adjacent to the back of curb. Slide number 19. So here we're showing the proposed roadway typical for the second section of US 1 between 10th Street and 12th Street. So this proposed section keeps the 11-foot center two-way left turn lane as is, but the two northbound and the two southbound lanes will each be reduced to provide a 10-foot inside lane and an 11-foot outside lane, giving room to install 4-foot bike lanes in both the northbound and southbound directions. The existing curb and gutter and 8-foot sidewalks are proposed to remain as existing on both sides of US 1. We're now on slide number 20, and I will now hand off the presentation over to Steve Hughes, who will cover the existing condition and give some examples of the proposed improvements.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, everyone. This is slide number 21. This is just showing an aerial of the existing conditions on the roadway. We're going to use similar aerials over the next few slides to show some of the proposed improvements. This is now slide 22. This is one of the key improvements, which will include milling and resurfacing of the roadway, along with restriping of the existing asphalt. This is one of the key improvements that will help extend the service length of the pavement, improve the overall riding conditions of the roadway, and provide clear delineation of the lane. The next improvement, this is now slide 23, includes the addition of a new sidewalk where it doesn't exist today. You'll see throughout the corridor limits there is sidewalks, so this project will be kind of filling in the gaps where the sidewalk begins and ends. There's currently no sidewalk today. The next improvement includes the addition of continuous bike lanes throughout the project limits. This will largely be accomplished when the milling and striping occurs. There will be slight shifts of the lane lines, narrowing them to allow sufficient room for the bike lanes. There'll be some very isolated areas of pavement widening to accomplish this, but it will largely be accomplished through the shifting of the striping. This is just another graphical representation showing kind of near the intersections how visually the bike lanes will look. You can see the green pavement. Those are an area we consider conflict zones where the vehicles will need to cross the bike lane to enter turn lanes. So those areas will be with green markings as shown. We're now on slide 26. Another important improvement is the reconstruction of the pedestrian ramps. The intent is to meet full ADA compliance, which includes the slope of the ramps, their physical placement, making sure there's unobstructed clear sidewalk width. We'll also add in detectable warning pads, and ramp reconstruction is going to occur at the majority of the ramps throughout the project. This is just another area showing graphical representation of what the ramps will be like. One of the other key aspects is making sure that the ramps properly are aligned with the proposed crosswalks. This is slide 28. Another one of the key enhancements will provide upgraded lighting at the signalized intersections of 8th Street and 12th Street. The key feature of this lighting is it's for enhanced pedestrian safety, and it'll provide enhanced visibility to vehicles approaching the crosswalks, so enhanced pedestrian visibility. Another important addition will be upgrade of signalization at both 8th Street and 12th Street. Once again, the primary focus here will be on pedestrian activities, so it'll include enhanced push buttons that are parallel to the crosswalks, making sure that the placement of these push buttons is within 10 feet of the curb ramp landings, make sure all the crossings have pedestrian countdown signals that kind of inform you how much time you have to cross the roadway, and enhance signage to make sure it's clearly indicating which direction the button is for which ramp. Another improvement will be the signage that's impacted by construction. They'll all be replaced with new signage to meet the latest standards, or any existing signage that's faded, damaged, or out of compliance will be replaced to make sure it meets standards and current requirements. Next slide, we're going to talk a little about the temporary traffic control plans for the project. This is essentially what you're going to see day to day when you're out there during construction. So some of the key points, sorry, once again, this is slide 32, is the work will be done in phases, and the intent of that is to minimize and reduce impacts to the community and the local traveling public through the roadway. The regulatory speeds established are going to be 45 miles an hour from north of 6th Avenue to 10th Street, and 35 mile an hour from 10th Street to 12th Street, and that's what exists, out there today. There will be some temporary lane closures. These will occur during non-peak hours, essentially not the rush hours in the AM and PM, once again, with the intent of minimizing impacts in traffic. The major paving activities will be performed at night, and we'll make sure that access is maintained to all businesses at all times during construction. And this is, excuse me, this is slide 33. This is what we're calling phase 1. This will be the lengthier portion of the construction. This is where a lot of the work occurring outside of the actual travel lane, which includes the sidewalk additions, reconstruction, the curb ramps, the lighting work, the signalization, some minor drainage. This is where you'll expect to see daily temporary lane closures during non-peak hours. This will be for the outside lanes only. These will occur, like I said, daily, and then removed each day during the peak hour. This is slide 34, and this is where you'll see work occurring over the travel lane. This is mainly involving the milling and resurfacing of the roadway, the repaving, and providing the new signage, the new striping. In this case, this will always maintain at least one travel lane in each direction at all times during construction, and the majority of this work will also occur in the evenings. This is slide 35. We're going to discuss the project schedule and costs. So the plans are in the production design stage right now. We expect design to be completed in November of 2022. The letting, which is essentially the construction bid openings, will be in March of 2023. And we anticipate construction to start a few months later, which will be sometime in the summer of 2023, with an estimated completion in the fall of 2024, a year and a few months in total construction duration, and the overall estimated construction costs will be about $1.7 million. And now we're to slide 37. We're going to go into the question and answer sessions, and I'll pass it to Layla Francois, who will give some additional information.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, we welcome any elected officials who may have joined us late and we did not get an opportunity to acknowledge you, or any elected officials with any questions or comments. We ask that you utilize the raise hand feature so that we may unmute you and allow you the opportunity to introduce yourself and ask your question or provide your comment. It doesn't appear that we have any elected officials joining us online. So at this time, online attendees are welcome to ask a question or provide a comment. Again, by utilizing the question panel or raise hand button on the GoToWebinar control panel. Once your microphone is unmuted, please provide your full name first and then your question comment. Your microphone will remain unmuted until the question comment has been fully addressed. If your question is not responded to during the event, a response will be provided in writing following the public meeting.
I see there's a question.
Yes, we have a question from Aaron Hugh.
Yes, hi, Hugh Aaron. I'm the Volunteer Director of Safety and Education for Bike Walk Indian River County. I don't think you all can see me, can you? It's just audio.
Correct, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Well, hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for the presentation, and thank you for all the work that you've done on this project. I live on just off US 1, a few miles south of this project, and this is a stretch of roadway that I use all the time, both in a car and on a bicycle, not walking so much. But I rode it today both ways on my bicycle because this is my route into town where I do some volunteer work. From 6th Avenue to 10th Street, which is the section I typically ride, I get off of US 1 at 10th Street, and I rode that this morning. And as you all pointed out, it currently has a very narrow paved shoulder, not a bike lane. So the 6-foot bike lane is going to be a huge improvement. You know, I'd love to have seen a 7-foot buffered bike lane, which has sort of become the FDOT standard in our county, but I understand that this is an old road in a commercial area, and I'm sure you all are working with a lot of constraints. My question is, when you get to 10th Street, I normally get off of US 1 if I'm on my bicycle at 10th Street because it's just virtually unrideable without getting on a sidewalk, and as I think you all know, there's an awful lot of studies that say riding a bicycle on a sidewalk is pretty dangerous, particularly in a commercial area. And so I'm glad to see that you're proposing a bike lane from 10th Street to 12th Street, but 4 feet is pretty narrow, and it may be that's all you can do, but I know there's a wide sidewalk there. I think it's currently 8 feet, and I think you all are proposing to keep it at 8 feet. And I'm wondering, is that sidewalk being redone, or are you just trying to preserve the existing sidewalk? If the sidewalk is being redone, and it's important to have good pedestrian facilities here. There's a lot of pedestrian users in this area, but I'm wondering if some of that sidewalk could be allocated to the bike lane if the sidewalk's going to be redone. And I'll let you respond, but I'm particularly concerned about a 4-foot bike lane where we have a curved shoulder because you just don't have any bailout opportunity there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to bring up the typical there?
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
I think the question is, this project is the milling and the resurfacing project. So if as you suggested, we cut off the sidewalk, make bike lane wider, which means you need to redo all the drainage system along the road. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, and so you're saying that it's just, I guess, too difficult to do, too expensive to do?
Yeah, basically, I have to use existing pavement between 2 curbs to fit best typical section I can give. And if I shorten, like make sidewalk narrow, that means all the drainage system underneath the road will redone, and all the inlet will redone. Then you can move that curb.
And that's not possible to do? That's just too big a job? Is that what you're saying?
That's not like it's totally like a reconstruction job. It's not a milling and a resurfacing job. The whole purpose of this project is like a mill and resurfacing existing pavement, preserve the existing pavement to repair it, make it last longer. It's not a reconstruction job. It's the totally different type of job, type of the funding. You know, like a state every year have a different funding to use for different things. So we just use this milling and resurface fund to make best out of it.
I understand. And do you all feel that the 4-foot bike lane is adequate here?
I don't feel it's adequate. I wish you have a 7-foot too, but the 7-foot, anything you can be done with engineering. I even can buy the like right away to make it bigger, and the 7-foot bike lane, 8-foot sidewalk, all can fit as long as if I can buy right away. But at this moment, we have no budget to buy right away. We have no budget to redo whole drainage system.
I understand. And certainly, if you really are constrained to keep this project between those existing curbs I think you guys have done a great job of squeezing everything you can out of that roadway to give some bike lane. I wish there was more. You could do more, and I hear you saying you wish you could do more too, but it's just not possible in this case. I think it's the bottom line.
It's the purpose of the project and the purpose of funding, it's not possible to do this.
And if I can add to Aaron, this is Brent Lischling, I'm the project
Hi, Brent.
manager. We're definitely aware of the importance of introducing the bike lanes in this section. Just to let you know, we're actually going below standards and applying. Well, we've applied for a variation to have that 10-foot lane and 11-foot two-way left turn lane for this section. Because it's posted at 35 miles per hour, that's allowed, but the design speed was actually a little bit higher. So to answer your other question, the whole intent was to actually retain those 8 feet sidewalks. We're really not touching them other than the curb ramps where they have crossings. So we're actually, doing variances to get that bike lane in there. And, as being correctly said,
It's clear to me that you guys really did try hard. I mean, you've shrunk that. I'm surprised, frankly, to see the 10-foot lane there, and I appreciate you doing that. And I totally understand the situation. The only other question I would ask is just brainstorming with everyone here. Do you think there's any possible way to, because that is a very narrow bike lane in a heavily traveled road, and the fact that the speed limit's 35 miles an hour, I think is helpful. Is there any way, do you think, to protect that bike lane since it is so narrow?
Based on the standard,
you mean like a kind of sort of barrier? Then you introduce one more thing, take space. The barrier takes space, and the face, like the actual lane before and the after the barrier takes space too. So you introduce more object in the very narrow space.
Yeah, right. No, I'm not thinking of of a wide barrier, because it's clear to me you've got not much more space to work there than the width of the line, I think. And I just don't know what the answers are. And I'm a little bit handicapped, and I'm not an engineer. I did hear a presentation yesterday at our BPAC meeting from Gavin McDaniel. Maybe some of you all know him in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And great presentation on a totally unrelated issue. It was on AVTs. But he mentioned just sort of offhand during this presentation that you all had some new methodology for protecting bike lanes. It wasn't a term I'd even heard before. I don't know if you all know anything about it, and I want to call Gavin and get more information about it, if it's something that actually is no wider than the width of a stripe. Do you all have any idea what he might have been talking about?
I think there are separated bike lanes. From my recollection, the standard, it needs to be 8 feet. You need 8 feet of pavement to have the separation. There's quick curb. They use that. I think it's about 6 inches. It's what they have on the temporary lanes on 0656. But yeah, we do need 8 feet, because 7 feet you still get a buffer. I mean, the separation on a 7-foot bike lane is 20 inches. You could put those plastic delineators in there that, much less than a foot. But on this, if you put anything, I mean, it's already 4 feet is the minimum that we can even mark as a bike lane. Anything less than that, you can't mark it as a bike lane. So if we take 6 inches off of this,
I understand.
You up against the curb and
yeah, I understand. You all can't see me, but I'm shaking my head, Brent, saying I get it. And thank you for trying, and thank you for brainstorming with me. And it is a big improvement.
And to let you know, the project, we're coordinating with the project to the north. So the bike lanes, they don't extend, but there is a project probably, few years or just after this. They're gonna do the similar treatment. So at least the bike lane, at least you'll have something continuing north of 12th Street. Not sure how far that project is going, but we have already given them our typical section, and spoke to the management that is approving the variations for this segment, and it's gonna be continued to the north, so
That'll be important to give us some connectivity. So
yes, yes.
thank you all for working so hard to try to make this at least as good as you could get it.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If anybody has any other questions, you can raise your hand. The slide where we were. Okay, so if there are no other questions, we will now be showing the closing and contact information. On behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation, thank you for attending this public meeting and providing your input on this project. If you have additional comments or questions after the public meeting, please submit them by Wednesday, May 18, 2022. Again, if you have any other additional questions, you can also contact the project manager from FDOT, Ms. Bing Wang, by email, by letter, or by telephone. The April safety message is work zones are assigned to slow down. Thank you again for your participation, and please complete our exit survey that will be shown on your screen once you log off. And please provide feedback about the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we got a question, but
Yes, from you, Aaron. Can I
Yes.
get a copy of the slides?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.